Hello everyone. Today we'll talk about service marketing. Service marketing is a very interesting topic, and when we talk about marketing, we generally talk about product marketing. Product marketing, when we are offering something tangible, any offering which is visible, we call it as tangible offering. So mostly we talk about product marketing only, but at the same time, service marketing is also equally important. The service marketing comes into picture when we talk about something intangible. Whenever we offer anything intangible, which is intangible in nature, which is not in the physical form, then we call it as services marketing. So today we'll talk about service marketing categories, classification, and characteristics. So these are the basic concepts of service marketing. So we are breaking up these three different concepts, these concepts into three different parts: categories, classification, and characteristics of services. So in the series of three lectures about categories, classification, and characteristics, we'll discuss first topic as categories of service marketing. Um, when we talk about services marketing, so categories of services marketing could be broadly discussed in four different parts, like consumer services, business services, public services, personal services. The services that are developed for the uh, consumption of the individual, we call them as personal services. Public services is again a different category, which is generally like services are developed for to offer large public at a time. Then we have a category of business services also. We offer consultancy services, and we offer services to various business houses, various businesses. And then uh, one category is consumer services, all the services that are targeted towards the consumers. So after covering the categories of services, we'll proceed for the classification of services in second lecture, and then characteristics of services in third lecture. So we'll discuss all these three different concepts in three different lectures. So when we talk about the categories of services, we need to think about three questions: how a service is processed, who performs it, and who receives it. So there are three possibilities, like who performs it. There is a service provider, there is a marketer who performs this process, and who receives it. There is a customer, there is an end user, consumer who receives the services. But how this is done? So this is done through a process. This is a process of service development, by which the services or the value is created and delivered to the end user or the consumer. Generally, services are intangible in nature. Now let's proceed further. So we can discuss this concept in four different uh, parts. So first is people processing. For example, healthcare. So in case of healthcare industry, people are involved. They perform some tangible actions, and they perform tangible actions over people, like nurses, surgeons, doctor. They are generally physically doing something on the patient, on the people. So it is like people processing services. Now let's talk about second example, which is known as mental stimulus processing, where no generally physical action is not performed, mental action is performed. For example, in case of consultancy, even in case of education, academics. So when we talk about education, academics, generally teacher performs some action, the educator delivers some knowledge, some content is delivered, knowledge is delivered, education services are provided to the student, to the people. So it is a mental process, mental action. Now third case is possession processing services. So in this case, the services are directed at a physical object, or for example, retail services. So physical objects are involved. We generally direct our services toward the physical objects. Fourth category is information processing category. Information processing, where knowledge or the information is delivered. Okay, so there could be different cases like professional KI KIPS or technology KIPS. So when we talk about KIPS, it's knowledge intensive business services. KIBS, knowledge intensive business services are provided. Generally, many consultancy companies are in the process of providing such services. A KIPS provider applies their knowledge most often on position for example, documents, process, system, rather than people. So there are the two different categories. KIPs can be subdivided into professional KIPs or technology. Professional KIPs means those organizations, those consultancy service firms uh, offering services like services related to law, related to medical, for example, lawyer, doctors. So they comes under this category. They are the professionals. Now another category is technology KIPs. They offer IT consultancy, that include data scientists also, AI, machine learning expert. So these are the different categories of knowledge processing category. So we talked about people processing services, we talked about mental stimulus processing services, we talked about possession processing, and fourth one is information processing. So these are the different categories. So these were defined by Lovelock also. Lovelock defined these different categories as tangible, intangible, and physical possession, and position uh, directed towards the people's mind. So let's talk about tangible action. Tangible acts on person's body, services such as healthcare, hotel industry, airline, beauty salon, and fitness center. So in case of these services, all the actions are directed towards persons or the individual's body. Now second is intangible action on a person's mind. So in this case, the services are directed towards the individual's mind, person's mind. Services such as education, advertising, entertainment, and broadcasting. So all these are the examples of this category. Third one is tangible acts on physical possession. So now we are talking about two aspects, tangible and intangible. So in first case, the tangible act was performed on person's body. Second case, intangible action on person's mind. Now we are talking about tangible action on physical possessions, and then we'll talk about intangible actions directed towards intangible assets. So third is physical possession or tangible assets. So tangible acts on physical possession. For example, laundry services, landscaping, repair and maintenance, and even the freight transportation. All these are the examples where services are directed towards some physical objects, physical possessions. Okay. Now fourth is intangible actions, intangible acts directed at intangible assets. In this case, the services, for example, services like accounting, banking, insurance, legal, these are directed not towards any physical position. Generally they are like invisible in nature. Accounting, banking, insurance, legal service, so all these types of services comes under this category. So we talked about four different categories. In all these four cases we discuss about intangible as well as intangible aspects. So in the first case, tangible act on physical, on the person's body, second on person's mind, and third on physical position, and fourth on intangible assets or intangible positions. Now let's summarize this. So we talked about four categories: information processing, possession processing, mental stimulus processing, people processing. We talked about some examples like banking, insurance, legal services, and accounting. All these examples falls under the category of information processing. And examples such as freight, transportation, repair, maintenance, laundry, all these comes under possession processing, because services are directed at physical objects belonging to a customer where the customer does not need to be present. In the first case, like in the previous slide also we talked about, in case of people processing, the person has to be physically available there, which is not in the case of possession processing. And information processing, the first case, first in the slide, information processing, the most intangible services directed at information or intangible assets. Okay, so we talked about information processing, possession processing, mental stimulus processing, and fourth is people processing. So these are the examples that we had already covered, and there is a infographic image you can see. So services could be like categorized into consumer services, business services, public services, and personal services. So there are basically four different categories we talked about. And you can see there is a matrix is there, and comparative, like four factors are compared: people, position, tangible, intangible, that we discussed in the previous slide. So this is summarized here. In the first case, intangible actions are oriented or directed towards the people, and the second case, on the right side of the screen, you can see intangible actions are directed toward the possessions, possession processing. Okay, services directed at physical possessions. And third one is intangible action, intangible actions oriented towards people, which is known as mental stimulus processing. Fourth one is intangible actions performed towards possessions. So this is the information processing. So this is a case where services are directed at intangible assets. So to summarize quickly, there are four categories: services directed at people's body, second is services directed at physical possession, and third is services directed at people's mind, and fourth one is services directed at intangible assets. So these are the four different categories. In the next video, we'll talk about classifications of the services. Thank you.